I was asked the question to name a government policy that's affected me in a very personal way using the basis of macroeconomics. For me, the very first one was a very easy choice. And it was the budget cuts in 2011. Those budget cuts impacted everyone's career, dropped morale, and severely impacted a lot of people's lives in a lot of bad ways. Me very directly. General David L. Goldfein was the vice chief of staff at the time, and he said when those budget cuts and those furloughs hit in 2011, he said that the airmen lost faith in their leadership, and he's right. We weren't able to buy gas. We were not able to buy $52 box of printer paper for our unit because we were so broke. And what eventually happened is I lost my job. Because someone thought it would be cool to go towards social welfare instead of defending our country. And I'm not the only one. Civilians were impacted. A lot of civilians quit their jobs. A lot of military personnel were separated and med-boarded out. A lot of people were let go after a record lookup. There was over $400 million in cuts when they dropped that budget. It was supposed to be over several years. What happened is that the chief of staffs had to break that down even sooner. On the second one that I want to speak about, I want to talk about firearm sales. Now that I'm a civilian now, and I'm not in the military, I'm a full-time student in college, and I work in firearm sales at a large distributor. Now, recently there's been a lot of debate over gun control and issues like that, and every single time that the president issues an executive order for gun control, I make more money. So this is a positive thing in a negative way that actually affects me. And I find it very interesting. Out of all of the contributions just in 2011 alone, it was found out that firearms sales and firearms manufacturing actually employ more people than General Motors themselves. The gun violence since Obama took office and taking control using executive order has skyrocketed, literally since the year he came into office. That in turn, leading to people getting more jobs in firearms, led the aggregate demand went up, leading to more supply, moving this curve to the right, making more money. That drastic increase in aggregate demand was phenomenal. On Thursday, this past Black Friday, an interesting fact is there were over 300,000 FBI NICS background checks done that day alone. And as an employee there working, most of them were speaking about the executive orders that were being passed. And that's why they were in there buying, which gave me money to buy my son Christmas presents. I couldn't complain. All of this, in turn, since he's taken office, and then violence has gone up, sales have increased, stocks have literally skyrocketed for Stern Ruger and Smith & Wesson, which is why I made investments in them and ended up making us over 70% profit. It was remarkable. And the source for this is Thomson Reuters. You can verify that. In 2009, they were below 200. And then by the middle of 13, when he started talking executive order, all the way now into 15, it went up to 1,200 a share, and is down to 800 a share just for Ruger alone. That is remarkable, and more than the history of the United States. Meaning that there are more people buying weapons right now than in the history of our entire country. And that's something to think about. So what I've really taken the most from this class and from Professor Richards and the things that we've learned, other than that Donald Trump will be an absolutely awful president, is that we are not in a recession. A lot of the myths that you hear about everything being so bad, we're actually, we're well over 1.7% in the positive right now. We do have a 24% trade deficit right now, but that's because the value of the dollar's increased, meaning that our exports are going to be a lot lower because people aren't going to want to buy things overseas that are more expensive, which is why we have an increase in our imports. The Dow Jones and the S&P 500 are in the positive, even after the beginning to a rough year. They started out terrible, and now they're completely in the positive, and they're at early year term highs right now. The last thing I want to talk about, and I want to make this brief, is social responsibility. What is social responsibility? It's defined as the balance between how we act with the economy and how it affects our environment. Now I'm going to give one 3-letter acronym that defines this the most, the EPA. The EPA is possibly one of the most cost inefficient agencies that we have. Now mind you, they've done some few good things, The problem with worrying about our economy and then worrying about our ecosystem at the very same time is that we can't always do that because the effects are not always positive. The earmarks in a bill to help our economy or to fix our ecosystem could literally reverse both of them. How can we protect an endangered species of wolves by paying a farmer so that way he doesn't kill them when they kill his cows? Those are the kind of earmarks and things that we see. Social responsibility are for people like Americans who have enough money to worry about it, where other countries are just trying to make it. Thank you for your time.